Yo, people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for another episode of All You Can Eat Chelsea. Big up your damn selves in the building. Make sure you smash up the likes and subscribe if you haven't already. Before we get down to business, brothers, let's commence. How is everybody doing? Miz, how are you feeling, bro? It feels like I haven't seen you guys in a while. I don't know why. I don't know when the last episode was, but maybe just the Chelsea game was just so draining that it felt like 3 days instead of 1. I don't know.
I think the last episode was quite a while back, maybe more than a week back. This probably would have happened maybe a couple of days ago, but obviously all of us couldn't make the time, so it just feels a bit longer. No, I've been feeling all right. I didn't even watch the Brighton. I'm
Brentford.
like Younes.
Yeah, you're doing what I did. Birthday, Brentford.
Yeah. I'm doing what
exactly
what
They live in our heads rent free. I'm telling you, man.
Younes was like, rent free.
Yeah. Brentford. I didn't watch the Brentford game. I was away for my daughter's birthday, so good I didn't watch it. I came back and I saw the highlights, and that was more than enough for me to get upset. So, no, man, I've been doing since that game. I know a lot of people have been talking about managers, and I know today's show is about managers, but I've actually been trying to do a lot more work on what these owners are all about. Like, for me, I could care less who the next manager is, to be honest. It don't matter. I'm more focused on understanding, Iqbali, understanding Feliciano, understanding Todd Bowley, understanding their remit, because I think us fans, we need to understand that first before we can even worry about managers.
I like the way you talk. I do indeed. Younes, brother, how are you feeling? How are you doing? Talk to me. How you getting on?
I'm good. Aside from Brighton living rent free in my head, I'm good. At this point, it's crazy. Yeah, I done the whole like Brentford Chelsea preview, and I kept saying Brighton. I didn't even realize until the comments come at me, and I'm like, oh shit, did I? Like, so, yeah, there's that. Aside from Chelsea, I'm great, and I would like to applaud what Miz just said. I think that is bang on the money. So, in the grand scheme of things, I think that's the correct thing to do. So this is why the next appointment is going to be so crucial, and it has to be correct. But at the same time, if what Miz has just mentioned isn't correct, then we're going to turn in circles. So I completely agree.
I'm going to get to that. Baba, brother, how are we doing? Because I think there was a crisis meeting that you may have missed. You were like, nah.
I missed it on purposely, bro. I did not have the guts for it, to be honest. I was so pissed off. Exactly what Younes said. Apart from Chelsea, everything is, touchwood, really nice. Everything is going just fine. But this team, plays every week, and whether you like it or not, you are putting your head into this game. And see, I was not even bothered about the Brentford game. I was away for an Indian Super League game. I was invited there. I was having fun. And then my phone, rang with those notifications. Brentford scored their second goal. And I was like, this team, man, we cannot even win against this B team of Brentford. So, again, like it's a feeling of despair, hopelessness. You don't know what you'll get out of this team. The project is going nowhere. I saw Younes's Brentford review, and I couldn't agree more when he said that we have become a mid-table team. The way we are acting, it's properly the way a mid-table team acts. Like, you'll see spikes in form. You'll have a good performance here and there, but consistently you'll be dropping points, and that is what we are doing right now. And what Pochettino has spoken in the recent interviews is criminal, in my opinion. He should have been sacked, appointed again, and should have been sacked again. Like, he should have been sacked twice in a span of a week, because he was so out of line with those comments. So yeah, this is what we are, unfortunately, right now, and I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. So if you guys remember, one of you wrote in the group chat that there might be light at the end of the tunnel, and I wrote, let's hope it's not a train. Unfortunately, it is a train.
Wow. Yeah. What a bar. I mean, I agree with what Miz says, but I feel like the way we're gonna find out is the next manager selection.
Yeah.
They're not gonna come out with a statement. They're not gonna come out with an interview. And even if they do, could you believe them regardless? You couldn't. If they was to come out and say we're gonna do an interview or we're gonna speak about Clearlake Capital and its intentions with Chelsea, you wouldn't be able to really buy into it until you saw action first. And I think the first bit of action before even players and over 25s come in is going to be the manager. Because if the objective is you have to make European football, we're probably not going to do that. It's highly unlikely. So then turns the question, who are you going to appoint? And I think if you make a certain appointment, certain names come up on that list, people will be like, oh, okay, they might have turned over a new leaf. Or they might be changing their direction, changing their mentality. But my problem is that when you spend the amount of money we've spent on these young players, by force, you're going to be probably looking for someone to develop them because they're not ready to perform at the level that a manager that's ready to win now needs them to perform at. They're still going to fall short. They're not going to maybe fall as short as we are right now, which is just shockingly mid-table and mediocrity, but they might finish 6th. And a winning manager doesn't want to finish 6th. A winning manager wants to be in a title race. And I don't think these guys are capable of being in a title race right now. So there begs the question, who's going to develop them? And that leaves us in a situation where we are going for someone that may not be tip top, as they say. The debate is Zerbi at the moment versus Amorim, is it? At Sporting Lisbon. Some people have brought up Nagelsmann. I don't even know how you guys feel about that because last season the Nagelsmann kind of talks collapsed. Exactly. He was bored of waiting. I also feel like him being with Germany and not being able to start preseason as soon as possible might be a hindrance as well. People reference Conte and say, oh, he did that when he came into the job, but that was a very different team. I think this team needs as much attention in preseason as possible. If anything, like they need more time than they're going to get, more so than less. I think Younes, I think I know where you've planted your flag in the sand with this one. You know who you want, and I know it's not Zerbi, isn't it? Out of these guys. I mean,
100%.
If I was to read these stats, right, is this the end of the conversation, right? 77% win rate at Braga, 70% win rate at Sporting Lisbon. I think it's 5 trophies in total. Zerbi, 36% win ratio at Swallow, 67% win ratio at Shakhtar, 1 trophy, and 35 wins at Brighton, 47%, no trophies, not even, a final way. Like, is that the end of the conversation for you? Is that how, like, done? Don't talk to me.
It's like I said, in the video I done yesterday, I pinpointed that if this was the beginning, if this was at the same point like we were when we hired Graham Potter and we hired Zerbi, there'd be a little bit more like, okay, let's see where it goes. We can't afford that now. Like, 2 appointments have gone wrong, right? We can't have another one. There needs to be certainty. There needs to be a level of a manager coming in and everyone going, I can trust this guy, and out of the options that are there on the table, the one that I feel like most can be comfortable with, or at least be assured to a certain extent, is more than likely going to be Amorim than it is, especially with the whole Brighton stuff. But that to one side, because I guess people can only come from the clubs that they're currently at. But I would feel a lot more comfortable and a lot more optimistic with where Amorim could take us rather than Zerbi, 100%. The next one cannot go wrong. If it does, we're finished. Simple as that. So that's where I stand.
If I was to play devil's advocate, people will say, and I guess it's a good argument to make, right? We've taken so much from Brighton. You take their manager as well for the second time because he knows Mudryk and he knows Levi Colwell and he knows Caicedo and he knows how to get the best out of them. And we've seen the system he wants to play and we see the type of football that he wants to showcase, and it's clear and there's instructions and it's rigid and it's almost Sarri in a sense where it's like he knows exactly what he's trying to do and he's very stubborn with it. He's not going to change. And then they might even get shameless and say, you know what, we've got a great record with Italian managers. We've got Di Matteo, we've got Ancelotti, we've got Sarri, we've got Conte. What's another Italian manager? Why would that hurt? Or
If
is
you
it,
take-
is it just shame of going back to Brighton again and being like, here's a bit of money for this guy? Because that,
No,
I'm not
no,
gonna lie, that would piss me off. I'm not gonna lie. That would piss me off.
It's not even that. It's the case of, I mean, yeah, it pissed me off as well, if I'm not going to lie. But it's the case of, look, if you take everything from Brighton, now including their current manager, we took their previous manager, we're going to take their current manager. We've got a few of their players that we took from them as well. We've got their old sporting director. We've got their current head of recruitment that's coming in. What do you expect the result's going to be?
The manager.
No, I mean Chelsea in the league table. Chelsea during a season, the result's going to be what Brighton are getting. You're going to get the same. You're not going to get anything above that. You've basically taken everything that they've got, brought it over here, and now you're expecting us to go further. The one point you mentioned before was about developing young players. It's funny because we said that before Poch arrived, didn't we? And look where we are. So this, for me, goes to the point that Miz mentioned, which I think is point number one. In all of this, it is a case of looking even further and the direction and the way that we're actually making the decisions at the club before hiring the manager. But we know that's probably not going to be paid much attention to by the club, and we're just going to go in for a manager and hope for the best. I just honestly hope it's not going to be the Zerbi. If it is,
you know what?
I think it's done.
You know what? I would rather Unai Emery than Roberto De Zerbi. And then also I won't look at Unai Emery. Because I think he's the ultimate mid-table team manager. But when it comes to managing big teams, you need managers with some pedigree, with some experience, with some know-how of how to win trophies. Roberto De Zerbi in his entire managerial career has won just one Ukrainian Super Cup. So if he were that good of a manager, okay, fine. He could work in a system where the academy is on point, the directors know what they're doing, the recruitment is not all over the place. In that environment, maybe he could work. But here we need a manager who can instill an identity. The culture is all gone. It's finished. The roots of the clubs are gone. It's finished. What Abramovich did so well to build, it's demolished completely.
It's destroyed.
So we need a manager who can come in and who can at least teach these owners what winning is all about, how a football club is run. Roberto De Zerbi, and this obsession of owners to work with a man who can collaborate well with them, because they can't take no for an answer, or they don't want someone who could argue with them. Okay,
exactly.
I want XYZ players. No, you cannot have. Okay, the give and take. They don't want that. Poch said in the post-match interview after Brentford that I don't have any options on the bench. So it was your decision to send Santos on loan. You've called Cassidy back. Why aren't you using him? So it's all over the place right now. And if a manager with a proper character, with a personality comes in, he would demand some specifics according to him. He would want the recruitment a certain way. He would want the squad to be run in a certain way. But owners would not want that. They would want... I don't know why these owners want to run everything, why they are micromanaging stuff. I don't know that. So unless that goes away, no matter what manager you bring in, I'm anyways strictly against De Zerbi's appointment.
See, with me, I think we're talking in layers here, right?
Yeah.
If we want to talk about managers, it's so difficult not to include owners, right? Because that is the first layer that we need to rectify before we even talk about managers. But for argument's sake, let's forget about the owners for a second and let's just focus purely on the managers for the sake of this particular episode, right? I think we need to choose a manager not only based on what Younes keeps saying, CV, but also based on the squad that we have. Now, I actually like both Amorim and De Zerbi. I like both of them. They're very, very good. They're very smart individuals, young, up-and-coming, modern-day managers with a distinct philosophy, with a style of play that is relevant to young players now. But if you look at, and I hate to say this, if you look at how Chelsea are set up at the moment, how many Brighton staff members do we already have in the back room? Tell me this. How many Brighton people do we already have at Chelsea? Plenty. Brighton people already. How many players have already played under De Zerbi? Handful as well. So it's only logical that De Zerbi comes in and takes over this from a logical standpoint when you think about it that way, because it's set up in that manner. Now, we may not like it. We may not like that. We may say that, well, wait a minute, we don't want to be Brighton. But and this is what I meant by saying talking in layers. You don't like it because we're turning into Brighton. That's a conversation you should be having with the owners. And this is why I'm stuck at the owners level. I'm not even coming to the managers level. But if I'm having to have a conversation at a manager's level, it makes sense to Zerbi, because you're doing everything that Brighton were intending to do. Do you know what I mean? We're not going to deviate away from that. So Amorim doesn't, we talk about like CVs, right? What CV did Sarri have when he joined Chelsea Football Club? He was under Roman era. He didn't have any trophies. So it's not always that CVs will translate into, potential trophies. But of course, it does matter. I'm more now focused on, does the squad fit a particular manager? I think, look, as much as I don't like our relationship with Brighton, I actually watch quite a lot of Brighton. I enjoy watching their football, right? A lot of people have a go at Roberto De Zerbi because of his defensive flaws. But if you actually watch Brighton on a regular basis, predominantly their goals are given due to errors. Because Brighton, De Zerbi plays in a manner which is dependent on 1v1 football. Now, if you're depending on 1v1 football in your philosophy and you're reliant on Lewis Dunk and so on and so forth, there will be games where you're going to struggle. There will be games. Now, if you put De Zerbi in a team with superior 1v1 players, and I'm not saying Chelsea is a superior team.
I was just about to say,
we make a lot
of errors. We make a lot of errors.
Yeah, Chelsea is not a superior team. We're actually inferior, I'd say, to Brighton. But what I'm trying to say, the hypothesis behind it is that if you put De Zerbi in a team with superior 1v1 players, if you see the way he plays his football, his build-up has been said by Pep Guardiola, one of the best in Europe. This is no joke. We've seen it ourselves. The square that he creates, it's so difficult to press that build-up and for Brighton not get away from it. His midfield is dynamic. The movements that Brighton have, we've seen how Brighton have opened up teams. Do you know what I mean? So there is no point in sitting here and downplaying Roberto De Zerbi. He's a very, very good manager. He's got the know-how. Now,
if we go deeper into it, right? My concern with him is that he's very one way or my way or no way, right? Which is, I'm going to play this football regardless of the results. And I think there was a quote that came out that was like, I don't want to win trophies. My target is to enjoy and be happy.
Matisse, tell me which manager in the modern era, Matisse, tell me which manager in the modern era doesn't follow his way. Give me one example like that it does. Look at Pep Guardiola. Does he have a different way or his way? Jurgen Klopp, does he have a different way?
I think Pep's shown with that big long kick to Haaland at the Emirates against Arsenal last season, and then De Bruyne just plays off him and hit them on the break. He's got other ways.
He's got other ways, but what is his main way? Do you know what I mean? If you see Brighton do long balls up the field as well, cross field balls, long balls as well. I'm talking about, are you expecting a manager to play Sam Allardyce's way at times?
No, of course not. No,
it's not going to happen.
But say this is my point. Say we're winning the game 2-0. 10 minutes to go. We'll still be playing out from the back. We'll still
100%. More than you can believe.
Risks. We'll still be taking these risks.
More than you can believe.
For me personally, that worries me. It does. I want a little bit of flexibility in your tactics. I thought Poch was going to bring that.
Then you need Poch. A
little bit of flexibility. just in terms of circumstantial, because we need to win games. It's not just about the style at this point. It's about you got to win. You got to win by any means necessary. In my opinion, that's what you've got to do. If you can't do that and you're going to keep saying, oh, but I'm going to do it my way, then your way better be on that level of Pep. Because if it's not, and you've got us dropping points because you're being stubborn, people are going to get onto you again. They're not going to have the patience. They're going to be like, yo, you're pissing around here. You're messing around. My other problem with him is that personality.
Just to pause on that. Then you shouldn't be thinking about getting rid of Poch, because Poch is that. Poch has shown in recent times, winning 1-0 against Manchester City and then trying to park the bus. That is what he's been doing, winning at all costs. If it means if I have to be defensive, but then the people had problems with Poch for being too defensive at that time. Why did we stop playing football? I thought it was probably the right thing to do at 70th minute.
So did I.
20 minutes
I
to
think
go.
it's what a lot of managers would have done that we've had in our tenure.
In our tenure,
it would have done
but
it.
not the modern day managers, though, Matisse. You think Xabi Alonso would be doing that? No. You think De Zerbi, more than you can believe, he will not be doing that.
Is it? I think it comes back to a point about balance. Like, you're right in saying that Poch is happy to be flexible to a certain extent, but we can see that tactically he's been inferior. Do you know what I mean? Or he's playing players 100%. Out of position, or he's doing those sort of things. He's not complete in that essence. Then you have the other extreme, which I think is going to be someone like a De Zerbi, who I think tactically is better than a Poch, but he's all in, and it's like, this is it to the extreme, which there's no balance on either side. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
And the way that Chelsea are moving, like I said, if this is probably a good conversation to have had at the time when we got someone in like Graham Potter. He was another one that didn't have enough balance. He's a good coach. I think in terms of moving the ball and the way that you actually play, God forbid I say this, I think under Potter, it was looking better than it was under Poch, right? But there's also the essence of man management and the way that he conducts himself and his personality, which was just stale.
Yeah, so
There's
stale.
no balance. Like, as long as someone can have enough balance tactically in terms of their management and in terms of their personality, and have at least a couple of results to have backed, to back themselves with.
I think their communication is key as well.
100%.
Absolutely critical.
Yeah.
I do worry about De Zerbi, whether or not he will, because we've now just come from Poch. It's like, is De Zerbi going to rub this fan base up the wrong way as well? Is he?
Oh yeah.
Is he going to be able to
potentially
establish that connection? I would worry about that as well. I would definitely worry about that.
I mentioned this yesterday. I honestly believe. I do want to say this. Who do I genuinely think will be the next Chelsea manager? De Zerbi.
It's
100%. It's all looking in that direction. Like, if I don't want it, but if you ask me, what do I think Chelsea are going to do? You best believe De Zerbi number one on the list. 100%.
Brighton will issue Chelsea a loyalty card at this point. You use
this
card for your next transaction. You may earn some points.
Bro, or they're gonna make special invoices like Chelsea Football Club, to specific Chelsea specific invoices, because we keep flipping giving them money. We're basically an income stream for them at this point. So there's that. But I do honestly believe if De Zerbi walks through the door, especially with the match-going fans, it's immediately in the negative. Immediately there's eyes going, don't trust him. Immediately. It's going to be one hell of a job for De Zerbi to try and do to get people on side. Not really through any fault of his own, but just because Brighton. And what we've done since the beginning. Like, I just don't see it working.
Just to play devil's advocate, as I said, I've got no issues with Ruben Amorim. I think he's good. I actually want to watch him tonight against Atalanta. I think that'll be a very good test for Sporting. Yeah. But you talk about match-going fans; they'll kick off if it's De Zerbi, and I understand that, that angle, because again, Brighton, right? How much do match-going fans know about Ruben Amorim, Younes?
This is why I mentioned what I mentioned. Because when you look at Ruben Amorim, for what he's done, right? Not to take age into consideration, because if we're going to be fair, De Zerbi's 45, Amorim's 39. It's not that far off. But for what Amorim could possibly have done up until now, and it's there, and the results are there to be shown. For as far as he's come so far. So it's not something that can really be contested in that essence, which is why I was saying, at least,
still a risk though, isn't it? Because it's
a risk.
Yeah.
But at least it's something where you go, we might have a chance, at least for a bit of certainty and a little bit of trust. Because this is what I think the fan base are lacking. And this is the point that you made, and I agree with, Miz, is the direction and the way that things are being run. There's no trust. The fans have lost trust with this ownership and the way that the club is heading, and where we don't know, where we're in the abyss. I think at least with Amorim, there's an essence of maybe we can trust him. You know, he's delivering so far. What can you do?
I'm not sure, Younes, man. I feel like the match-going fans, whether it's Amorim or Zerbi, they're not going to be happy because, look, one thing you can probably say about Zerbi is at least people in the Premier League know him. Like, do you know what I mean? They know how Brighton play. They know it's not a massive surprise from that perspective. With Amorim, I kid you not, the match-going fans will not know who he is, and it might be the Sarri sort of situation where people might not feel that they can connect with him. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's an unknown name that they've never heard. Some gaffer from Portugal. Like, yeah, sure, CV looks great because you've done the research, Younes, or Baba's done the research, or I've done the research, or Matisse. But I'm talking about people who don't have time to do research. They just rock up in the match and just want to get entertained, and they hear, who's this guy from Portugal? Who's that guy? Do you know what I mean? So I think all of this is risky. This is why we look up there. Everything is risky right now. Do you know what I mean?
But how do we play it out as fans, right? Because now we have to get it spot on, and we can't afford any hiccups now or any goof-ups leading up to the next season.
Don't be surprised if Poch stays. This is what I've been driving recently. I've come to a sort of a conclusion in recent times, and I've been realizing some of the comments. I
think he's toast.
Look, I don't know. Maybe he is.
Depends on the FA Cup, Younes. If somehow we win the FA Cup, which we won't. But if we were to win the FA Cup, then he'll definitely stay.
The thing is, like, if you win the FA Cup and finish 12th, you shouldn't get away with that. And that's coming from me.
We won't finish 12th. We'll finish 8th. I don't know how much of a difference will it make if you finish 12th or 8th. But on paper, owners will be like, okay, here's your progress.
I think for the ownership, I think for the ownership, 12th and 8th will be a big difference because they'll see that and they'll understand that. They'll know that that's mad. Like, I'd rather him leave on a high with an FA Cup win than keep going and then like go into, say, you don't start next season strong. Now, if you don't start next season strong, I think the fans are onto you in the ground, like onto you, where you could have just left with an FA Cup shamelessly and kept it moving. So, do you know what I'm saying? I'm still probably thinking after an FA Cup win, if you're in that position, for me, in that position in the league is just, it's unacceptable. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It's unacceptable. That league position is it's a proper disgrace, I think. So for me, you've got to look at that. That's your bread and butter. That's 38 games. That's like what you've produced over the course of the season. The FA Cup, these knockout competitions, they're good. Don't get me wrong. It's a bonus and I want it, but it's not what you should be judged on. You should be judged on what you've done in the league because that's what you're playing week in, week out. That's your results.
In recent times, we've come to a realization that Bad Dad Iqbali is the one who's really controlling everything, right? I've seen recently some reports coming out that Iqbali really likes Pochettino. He likes him.
Yeah, he does.
You know why? You know why he likes him? Because Pochettino doesn't kick up a fuss. Look at the way Pochettino speaks in press conference. He treats the fan base like an idiot. He never, ever throws the ownership under the bus. He never throws the sporting directors under the bus. He doesn't throw the players under the bus. He doesn't talk about the tactics. He's always trying to create the narrative. This is a new Chelsea. Forget the old Chelsea. Our owners want to first and foremost make sure that the fan base forgets the old Chelsea. And one of the people that's driving this from the front is Pochettino. He's his mouthpiece. There has to be far bigger reason than just table position to get rid of Pochettino. There's been so many excuses that have been coming out all throughout this season. Injuries. Pochettino hasn't had a team that's been injury-free for him to operate. They've even said in recent times, this Chelsea team, based on data analytics, it should be coming 5th or 6th. So due to unforeseeable circumstances, this is where we are. The only
this team has had a full squad this season. No team has had a full
no team, but they don't care. They are here to brainwash us only. They're not here to brainwash Liverpool fans or Man United fans. They want to brainwash us. The only people that can potentially kick Pochettino out is the two directors. Because those two directors, especially Winston Lee, is very close to Iqbal. If he says, look, mate, I don't think that guy's good for this job, he needs to go. But even then, it's these two directors that selected Poch. So you will have to come up with some amazing reasons to get rid of Poch. This is why I think, don't be surprised if Poch is there for next season, man. Honestly, do not be surprised.
I honestly believe that this is why I think we're hearing briefs about managers and names and all of that, is because there's definitely eyes being put into who can come in next. I think there's too much damage done. And especially, look, when the fans start telling you to F off, yeah, it's over. Like, it's over, man. Like, I don't think there's any coming back from that. I agree, though. Poch is Iqbali's man. And there seems to be a common thread here from top to manager, which is Iqbali, Winstanley, and in this case, Poch. That seems to be the line, you know, the thread, basically. So I think Iqbali will try and drag it out as much as possible, which is why Poch has not been sacked yet. And it will more than likely happen at the end of the season when the review is going to happen. But if it does, and we've done absolutely nothing from now until then I think the change will be forced. It has to come. But this is why I say they'll make sure they have the next person in line that they can turn to in that instance, in that case, if it does happen. And I think that guy's Zerbi. It's gonna be Zerbi.
But do you know what I'm saying, Younes? And I think we've all said this in All You Can Eat Chelsea many a times. If these owners and sporting directors truly think Poch is the issue why Chelsea's not going forward, and this is why he's going to get sacked, and they think that the next guy's just going to come in and just take Chelsea to the top.
It's not going to happen.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? Poch is really good. He can turn this. Imagine the morning when Poch is about to get sacked, right? And he's been called into the office. And when they're giving him the briefings that this is what we're going to do, Poch can easily turn that narrative around and say, under what circumstances are you actually getting rid of me? Like, what are my faults here? Are they not greater faults at Chelsea Football Club? Is my fault the greatest fault here? Am I the change that Chelsea really needs? I'm just playing devil's advocate. I don't like Poch, but I'm just saying we're in such a mess that changing a manager ain't gonna solve nothing, in my opinion.
I agree. In that context, I agree. I think there's only so much that Poch has done or been able to do, and he's at fault, if I'm being honest. And I think that he's part of the problem, but he's a byproduct of the bigger problem at the club.
Exactly. He's the byproduct.
He's a byproduct.
This is what Poch is going to say. I'm the byproduct of your problem.
Yeah. My issue with Poch is that he's gone along with it. That's my issue. He's just no problem.
But Younes, if he didn't, he
wouldn't
doesn't
be
get
here.
the job.
He wouldn't be here in the first place.
No, I'm saying at the beginning, absolutely. I mean, even in the job is my issue. There's times during the season where you could just see he's just kind of propped along and just got on with it. Really,
would a 39-year-old Amorim and Zerbi, I'm gonna say as well, they probably just go along with it too, right? Like Zerbi has changed jobs quite frequently. To be fair, he's come through quite a few jobs in a small space of time. So maybe he uses us as a stepping stone. If he does really well, he might still leave just for different reasons, right? If he actually does really well, he might still go because he might be sick of the model. If he's sick of the Brighton model, which he kind of has alluded to, you know, that he doesn't, get to keep his best players and it's a struggle, etc. If we go down a model of you've always got to be developing young players constantly, he might get sick of that as well. And it's funny that these two managers in particular come up because Poch stands in the middle where when he came to the club, he wanted to win. I truly believe he wanted to win because he wanted to tell everybody in England that I'm not a bottler and I'm not Spursy and all these things. And he says when he goes to Wembley, he cries. Like it clearly means a lot to him. But, he just hasn't got that moment yet, and he clearly at Wembley couldn't deliver when it mattered, right? In that extra time, he couldn't get that energy out of the players. They were lacking for whatever reason. De Zerbi seems like he's more about the fun and the football and the system and the style and the identity, which a lot of Chelsea fans want and they don't have right now, which they really, really want. But Amorim is more pragmatic, less about one specific way, in my opinion, but he's won. So you've got this like string of managers that there's some polar opposites there and there's some extremes. And I think ideally what you'd want as a Chelsea fan is you'd want the style of play to be really clear, because you haven't had that this season. So usually what we don't have, we want. That's what I've noticed. What we don't have, we want. When we had Sarri and we had someone trying to put in a clear style of play, we didn't want that. We want personality and we want someone to connect. When someone, you know, connects like Lampard, but they don't give the style of play, then we want the style of play and somebody that hasn't, you know, that forget the connection. So now it's going to be, now in the dream world, of course, it's Pep, it's Klopp, it's style and it's connection. But I don't know if both those managers that are on the shortlist are going to give you both of those things. I think they're going to give you one or the other, potentially. Potentially,
you're right.
I don't see how those guys are going to. They're not going to overrule what's above them. Those guys. You got to go to other managers for that.
This is what I was saying. Name me one manager that is going to be able to give you that entire balance. This is what I was saying. It's either you go the tactical route because you see your squad full of tactical talent, or you go with, you know, someone who is a bit more pragmatic but may not be completely suitable for the squad that we have. And then, you know, you try that out. Right now, I find it very difficult to have that all-round manager that is able to do everything. I don't know.
People are mentioning Inzaghi at Inter. And I've heard Maldini's name come up for the sporting director or whatever when he was at
I said it a
AC
few times as well. Maldini would be fine, but I don't think these two numpties are leaving. These Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart, I don't think they're going anywhere. In fact, they're actually going to be given more power.
All I want is just someone above them that knows what it takes to be at a big club and to manage those expectations and what the squad needs to balance in terms of when Stanley and Stewart, you may be out, you can scout Petrovic and Gusto and, you know, these players. But when you put everything together, did it make sense? The answer is no. I've said it before, these attributes of these players, I don't think these are terrible players. There's some people that I've had this debate with Goonie, right? Goonie thinks that this is a shocking squad, right? He thinks it's a terrible team. I don't think these players are bad. I think these players are talented. And if you took them and put them at other clubs surrounded by experience, leadership, top coaching, clear style, whatever you think it is that we're lacking, if it's not everything that I've just mentioned, I think these players perform. I can genuinely see Mudryk performing pretty well at Arsenal as a squad player for his first season. Maybe the price is lower, so there's not that much pressure. But a lot of these players are in their first season in England. They shouldn't even be starters. A lot of them should be rotation. A lot of these players, when City signs someone, when Liverpool signs someone, they usually get a season to bed in. They usually get a season. Look at Younes last season. He cost what? 60, 70 million pounds. That brother was a rotation. Rotation. But we've got Jackson as our only striker every single week. If you took these players and put them in places where they weren't overrated and they weren't overvalued and they were just part of a machine, and then they were surrounded by top players, I promise you, most of these signings would do very well for themselves. Most of these signings. But when you put them all together, it doesn't make sense because there's so many intangibles that we're lacking. So, and then obviously on top of that, there's nobody in that front line that actually gets goals. When you build a front line, it's not that Jackson can't work in a front line. It's that Jackson probably needs goal-scoring wingers. It's not that Madueke and Mudryk can't work in a front line. It's that they shouldn't be starters and they've skipped a step in terms of development, so they need to have a Willian or a Hazard ahead of them. It's not that these guys can't be at the club at all, a lot of them. It's just that they're either too important or they don't have the right ingredients around them. That's how I see it. Now, the problem is that where's the money going to come from to fix that? Or it's just the only currency is time. That's how they're going to see it. I have to develop all these guys. You have to. That's the
But
problem.
this is the thing. You've just exactly illustrated why the strategy we've gone down is false. It's wrong. You've completely nailed it. And I agree that the correct way for these sort of players would be to bed them into a squad that are set in levels and they can learn in. This is where I answer the question you've just asked. I honestly believe the answer is we're going to find stagnation. You can try and develop players as much as possible, but on a tactical level with a coach. But if all of them are at the same level, you're not going to upgrade all of them at the same time to where they need to go. I honestly think it's a case of if there's no players currently in that setup that are setting the level and the example on the pitch for them to play alongside, they're not going to develop. They'll develop a bit, but they won't get to the level that you want them to. You're just going to find stagnation. Now you've asked also the correct question. Where's the money going to come from for us to be able to fix what we've already done that's wrong? This is why the model and the strategy has been wrong from day one. It's just that is it, because I agree. Where is it going to come from? Where are we going to rectify all of this now? Especially when you look with FFP and FSR and all this madness that's going on. It's a big question. Like, has the big damage been done?
They're relying on this squad growing together and unifying and leaders propping up and coming from somewhere.
It's never happened.
But my thing is, right, so the people then be asked, okay, if you think these are players are talented, right, or at least not, I'm not saying all of them because I don't know all of them. I'm just going off what I've seen. I think Petrovic has got something to him. Now, if Zerbi comes in, Petrovic is on the bench. Sanchez is out the club, right? He's going to get the most ball-playing goalkeeper he can find. That's something that you're going to have to look at. Gusto, that's some good scouting right there, right? Badiashile started really well. Now he's gone, kind of sideways, haven't given up on him. But for me, the overriding thing is, why am I so annoyed with these directors? Why do they even need to be removed, or they need to at least be pushed down in terms of power and replaced? Two things: extremism and neglect. Yeah. Simple. It's extremism and neglect. I'm not telling you can't scout. I'm not telling you don't know talent. Now, have we overpaid? 100%. For some of these players, wage-wise in the wonderful food era and fee-wise for the amortization, right? But neglect and extremism is what I'm punishing you for, because nobody asked for the multi-club model. And that goes all the way back up to the top. Who told you that multi-club model should have been your first priority? Who told you that? Who told you that? Signings like Washington, signings like all. I bring these players up because when people talk about $1 billion, they don't include these players because they don't even know who they are, but they exist. And when we talk about a lack of options on the bench because we don't have the depth, and piss off. This pity party is not for me. You have brought players like these players that can contribute nothing to the football club just because they're talented, with no development plan and no integration plan. Half of them are out on loan, suffering, not getting minutes, and not developing, not kicking on, because you haven't finished. If you're going to start a multi-club model, you have to finish it. You can't buy one club and try and send everybody there. You've got to have a Portuguese club. Look at City. They've got a club in every continent. Almost a club in every league they're aiming for. But that's not where they start. They start with, let's build a top side. Let's make sure we're in the Champions League regularly. Let's make sure that Peter Crouch doesn't knock us out in the final game against Tottenham in the league. Let's make sure that we're winning. And then you get to that. If you're really here for the long haul, and it's 10 years, by the way, you're locked in, then why don't you do the multi-club model in the 6th and 7th year? Why do you have to do it now? I cussed this immediately when it started because I knew that it would just lead to this cycle of signing 16, 17, 18-year-olds. Because now you got to feed those cycles. You got to feed those clubs. You can't buy those clubs and not bring in players for them or loan players to them. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it's literally priorities are all wrong. And even though they might not cost loads, it might be 100 million out of the billion. It's attention. It's, for me, it's not even just the currency. It's the attention that they're spending on that they should be spending on something else. That annoys me.
But see, Matisse, everything that you've just mentioned, right there, multi-club model, buying all of these young players. What is it telling you? What is it telling you about the owners and the direction that they're going? Everything that you've just mentioned that you don't like, and they consistently are doing this and focused on this. What is it telling you about the owners?
They're doubling down as well. Yeah.
Not just doubling down. This has been their remit from the get-go. Have a look at
course,
my recent video that I just did. It was about Baghdad Iqbali speaking in December 2022. Everything Matisse just said, Iqbali said it from the get-go. He warned us. He said, when I'm going to get Chelsea, or when we have Chelsea, multi-club model is going to be the very first thing they're going to be doing. Young players, reducing costs. He even references how Tony Bloom at Brighton only uses 10% as payroll, the revenue. And they make very smart amount of profit. He also talks about Leipzig, how they spend about 40 million in payroll and they still make trading profits of 50 to 100 million. It's not about, this is what I'm trying to say, guys. Like, it's not about which manager comes in, which manager goes, which player comes in. It's all about the commercialization of the club. Every single bit of this club needs to be monetized. If you breathe, you better be monetized. Your breathing needs to be monetized. Every single thing. So this multi-club thing that you don't like, Matisse, and you've been saying that this should have happened in the 60, I agree. But they're not interested about that. They want it now so that they can spread these kids around and then eventually sell them off. You can even sell Chelsea to Strasbourg, you know. You can even do that. Just the way Man City are doing with Girona, with Savio. So if you want to balance your books and you want to shift a particular player away if they're not doing well, for argument's sake, and they've got a certain book value, you can even do that to Strasbourg. Because ultimately, all of that is under the Blues Code book. So this is why they wanted. Eventually, they're going to end up getting a club from Portugal. They're going to get a club from Brazil. But coming back to Younes's point, you're right. Makelele said that in his interview yesterday. These players don't have anyone to look up to. Claude Makelele had, the likes of Zola and a few of the other players that he was mentioning in the article that they could look up to. Our current players don't have anyone to look up to. And in regards to money, as both Younes and Matisse, you guys said that, where's the money going to come from? Oh, you best believe the money is there. It's a matter of owners not wanting to spend that money. You think we can't deviate away from this plan that we've got going under this new ownership? Let's just say, for argument's sake, you don't have to buy 20 players. Buy 2 players that are of top ilk and pay them, I don't know, 200K, 250K, whatever. And reduce the wages for others that are squad rotational players. Don't worry about the multi-club model. Just focus on Chelsea. Do you think they don't have the money? They do have the money. But for them, that is not maximizing the commercial side of things.
Yeah.
Paying a player 250K, 300K, and buying them for in excess of 100 million in transfer fee, that is bad business for them. They want to have the smallest wage bill. They want to operate with the smallest transfer fee, and they want to have young players so that they can flip them for a lot of money, because young players potentially will hold value.
So, but the thing is, right, you don't have to spend. Now, usually you do. If you want to go somewhere, you got to spend money. But even Liverpool have hired a top manager. They've made sure that people in positions of power understand what they're doing, and they're not just going after kids. If they're going to spend a little bit of money, it'll be on some player that has proven himself in the Premier League for a few years and has shown, I can perform consistently for your system. And I'm going to make sure that I cater to my manager's system. I'm not going to go against his wishes. I'm not going to try and build a random team and then make him kind of work with it. And then you got square pegs and round holes. I'm going to commit to your philosophy, your system, and I'm going to buy you players that are not 100, 150 million, but they are, at least they've done something. They've shown something. They're not 30 games deep, 20 games deep, 20 starts deep. Do you know what I mean? They're not buying every 16, 18, 19-year-old. They're saying, okay, cool. This player's done it for a couple of years in the Prem. consistent performer. We think he can do it for you. I'm going to bring him in. I'm going to bring him in for you. And it matches what you're trying to do. I'm not trying to sell someone that you rate. I'm not trying to force someone down your throat that you don't. I'm going to actually cater to you. At least it makes sense what, the direction. For us, it's like, as much as I don't think Gallagher should be a consistent starter, I've always said it, but it's funny that they're trying to sell him, but Poch is still in charge. Like, it doesn't even add up. It doesn't even add up. That tells me from the get-go that you don't care about what the manager wants. So you may as well not even have one. You may as well you're overriding everything there on that side of things.
Do you know what, Matisse? Liverpool, they've been blessed that they were able to land a manager like Jurgen Klopp. Because you take Jurgen Klopp away and you potentially put a different manager there, all of these things that you've just mentioned about Liverpool might not have happened. A large part of all of the success that they've seen, Salah coming in, Sadio Mane, this, that, the other, all of the players clicking, is down to Jurgen Klopp, man. Jurgen Klopp is a huge factor. And this is why I said in recent times in All You Can Eat Chelsea just got to get lucky. This is why you just got to maybe just keep flipping managers and pray to dear God that you land the next Jurgen Klopp somehow. Luckily, nothing is going to be done by design, Nothing is going to be done by design. Liverpool, they must have, they had the proper scouting networks and so on and so forth, and they were able to snatch Jurgen Klopp, right? And then they had the right setup with Michael Edwards and so on and so forth. We are running wild. We need a manager who is off that same caliber as Jurgen Klopp, and then only all of this bullshit that the owners are doing perhaps may come to some level of fruition. Until then, don't compare us with Liverpool. Don't tell us, but Liverpool went this way. Yeah, it's because of Jurgen Klopp.
And Edwards is scouting as well.
Yeah. We don't have that.
But how long before owners realize it's not okay to be without Champions League football? Because it's not working. We are not getting Champions League football at this rate. And with this model.
Does Brighton have Champions League football?
But the way you spent, how are you going to show profits in your books without revenue?
Doesn't Brighton show profit?
I was actually going to say, because there's people that reckon it's just not going to be possible to make profit if you're not winning or you're not in those competitions. And like I said, you do make extra money being in those competitions, but it's not the be all and end all for a club that just wants to get over the line and make some money, right?
Correct.
Especially with a brand. Chelsea's brand is so much larger than Brighton's, let's be honest. On a global scale, that's guaranteed. For the next 10 years, right, you best believe there is a bare minimum that's coming in revenue just because Chelsea is Chelsea. Just the badge, right? Just because of what we've had historically. But Brighton, I've actually managed to get this up, right? And they swung a £53 million pre-tax loss to £24 million profit in the space of 1 year. Yeah, £77 million improvement. They found themselves in the profit for an entire season. Right, they made profit. It's done. And that's increasing. Especially with the money that we gave them. You best believe when the accounts come out for the next financial year, people are going to be shocked at what Brighton have made in terms of profit.
Brighton was one of the clubs with the highest income. I'm telling you.
Yeah, 100%.
And we've done that.
With the players that they've sold. Oh my God. We've given them that money. We gave them that money.
Yeah. So down the line, what will happen is you'll probably end up, God forbid, Reece James gets approached by Real Madrid. Down the line in 3 or 4 seasons, Gusto is a club coming in for Gusto.
Cole Palmer,
a big club coming for Cole Palmer.
Yep.
A club want to come in and try and poach Nkunku. While in the meantime, we are focusing on getting young players in to try and develop and grow and hit the levels, or try and find some sweet deals. And then it's just going to be that same rotation with time. And money's coming in, but are we doing anything? I honestly think that's the original intention. But at the same time, with the whole multi-club model thing and the way that we're moving, for a club the size of Chelsea, can that actually work in the long term? Firstly, without a stadium, that's going to alter their plans for sure, right? Because they had in their heads a new stadium is going to be part of the plan. Lovely jubbly, piece of cake. It's not a piece of cake. That's a big problem.
Yep.
And also, multi-club model. Let me just say, what happens if Strasbourg get relegated this season? They might get relegated.
They might get relegated.
What happens if they end up in League 2? Well, all of a sudden, there's a problem there. What happens if, we heard this today, apparently there's going to be a new regulation where clubs that have certain links are not allowed to share players below the market price of that certain player or the market value of that certain player. The price that a club gets a player in, even if there's a relationship between the clubs, needs to be at a minimum of the market value for that player. That's something that's come out today. I need to do more digging and we can all have a look at that later. But
you know why, Younes? You know why, Younes? Because City just started doing that with Savio from Girona.
Exactly.
And they might get a few more players from Girona because they're doing well. Yeah. But then who decides the market value? It's all like, who gives you the right to decide what is the market value? Do you know what I mean? Like, who's the body that's going to say, this is the market value? That? Yeah, who regulates that? Do you know what I mean? That's going to kick up another whole different storm. Mm-hmm. So they know what these owners, they know what they're doing, man. They know what they're doing. And they're set out to just make sure that Chelsea become a very profitable business.
That's
not a successful football club, a very profitable business. And that's all that matters to them. They're going, you know how we talk about the pain. Their only pain right now is us. Nothing else. The league table is not hurting them. Nothing is hurting them.
The data says it's all okay. So
data says it's all okay. They're happy with Poch. They're happy with everything. They're happy with the players. They're happy with what they're doing. Their biggest pain is all of us in the live chat, all of us in the panel. Their biggest pain is us. If they can one day shut us up properly,
coast is clear.
It's coast is clear, bro. Coast is clear.
I don't think they'll be able to do that, but
no. And that's what I think they've undermined. I'll be honest. I don't think they've really understood the entire picture of what they've walked into. On a business level, I do believe that they will be ticking over in terms of profit at Chelsea. I believe they will. I think
the stadium thing seems to be a massive miss.
It's a big one.
Exactly. I think there's been slight miscalculations in terms of the industry they've walked into. And I think they've underestimated a couple of things here. And that's going to come back to bite them.
But Younes, didn't they get that Tottenham guy, Goldstein? Jonathan Goldstein or something?
He was
a real estate guy.
Let him deal with the CPO. We'll see how it works.
We hired
Wasn't he the real estate guy?
We hired some motivational speaker again.
mentality
monster, right? There's another one of those in.
Another Kiwi.
Yeah, we bring in so many staff members, bro. It's insane.
But you guys are right, because now there's news coming about the stadium issue is a big issue. The owners are getting frustrated. The owners really thought by now, almost 2 years into their tenure, they would have had some level of development with the stadium, whether it's a new area, whether it's Stamford Bridge, but they're seeing that this is actually a big problem, and this will become a big problem for their ambition as well. For them, the model that they're going towards, multi-club structure was a huge one, and redevelopment of the stadium is a huge one, because don't forget, the redevelopment of the stadium is not just for footballing purpose.
Of course.
For non-footballing purpose as well.
Yeah, man. Bring the NFL.
Of course. I mean, listen, it's all about if they could have a situation like Tottenham do, where you can have concerts and you can have NFL and you can have other sports and you can have more revenue in terms of obviously gate receipts, although that atmosphere probably would be pretty shit in my imagination. I'd start to think, unless we start to actually allocate singing sections or standing stands or whatever, I think the atmosphere will definitely, it's already pretty poor at home, which is probably this, for most big clubs at home, but I think it would get even worse. But Yeah, for sure. I mean, look at what Tottenham are doing. You know, they're able to make stupid money now in that stadium.
I
Absolutely
remember I
smashes in
saw
that regard.
the figures of last year, and correct me if I'm wrong, man. Tottenham apparently made a further 40 or 50 million more than Chelsea Football Club in terms of gate revenue.
Mm,
Do you know how insane that is?
it's not good.
This is what I mean. Like the owners want to be off that level, and then it will further validate their point that you don't need to win nothing.
But my thing is, right, did they do in regards to the stadium thing, did they not think that if it could have been done, it would have been done by now?
They must have
I
miscalculated
think
that.
they've
They really
miscalculated.
did.
Like,
They
I'm
must
not saying it can't be done, but it's obviously very difficult. I don't know if they didn't know, like, surely they must have known it was going to be difficult. Otherwise, it would have been done. It's not something that we've just been like, oh yes, we love having a 42-seater stadium, 42K seater stadium. Like, we love this. It's so fun. We love to be humble. No, we want 60, but it's not been possible. It's been very difficult. Clearly, this position that we're in this part of London is it's the worst. I can't tell you a worse place in London to try and buy land, expand. There is no worse place. There's
Logistically,
there's no space, and everybody there is rich.
no, but the thing, logistically, it's terrible because of the constraints, right?
Yeah, and obviously the train line.
Financially, it's the best land you can build on, mate.
For sure, but
you're
you're not going to
in the
get that
middle
land.
of Fulham and Chelsea with
Yeah.
those millionaires and billionaires around you. You've got
Lucrative.
Mayfair around the corner, mate.
Lucrative.
It's mad. But I think they were thinking more on that aspect rather than the actual constraints.
Yeah.
Or I think maybe they didn't understand the ramifications of going elsewhere. I know some fans are saying, why don't we just move elsewhere? It's not that easy. The CPO exists. The CPO have existed for time. And they're the ones who own the pitch. And it's not just one or two people. Mate, the CPO are a body of thousands of people with shares. Like, it's basically fan-owned. It's fan-owned. And you've got ex-players and ex-managers and all sorts that have shares. If you want to buy a share, you can do it in 10 minutes. You can buy a share in the CPO. So I think they've underestimated the complications with that perhaps as well. Because moving to, let's say, Earls Court or Battersea Power Station, that's finished. Battersea Power Station has been reconstructed. That's done.
Yeah,
that's already open.
Earls Court's not happening.
Earls
Council have
Court
already
is in
said
the
no.
process of that. That's already been given the green light. No one's going to change that. So you're not even in a position to try and stop that from happening. It's going to go ahead. So where do we move to? There's nowhere to move to, at least in and around where we are based, unless we redevelop Stamford Bridge. I believe they've miscalculated because I think this is an indicator. You see the houses, the residences that are next to the bridge, Stowe Mansions, on the left-hand side.
Yeah. Just but on the way to the station.
Yeah, and it belongs to the Chelsea pensioners. A portion of that has been sold to the club, right? To Blueco. They own it.
Not all of it, no. Just
Not
portion
all of it. A portion of it. So if it's a portion of that's been bought, why have they bought that out? Well, because they want to try and use the maximum amount of space. So they have the intention of redeveloping there at Stamford Bridge.
Yeah.
But I think they've misunderstood just how difficult it's going to be to expand to a certain capacity there.
All of those houses,
Right.
you know, on that main road in front of the stadium, all of those houses they need.
Yeah.
And if one brother doesn't move, it only takes one brother to say, I'm not going anywhere. Don't go anywhere. You can't build a stadium around someone's house. It's not going to work. You need flat land and you need the whole block. Obviously, the hotel for me ceases to exist if this goes ahead. Don't even bother with the hotel. Yeah, just get rid of that. Let's just focus on the ground and the seats. But you need that row of houses. When I saw the plans and I saw the bird's eye view, it's all good getting the Chelsea pensioners' apartments and whatnot. Brothers, you need this row. And each house individually owns to someone. And that person, one of them brothers are going to tell you no. If they're on the corner, you might get away with it. But you probably won't because, you're just not going to get that. So, I don't know, man. I don't know what they're going to do with that. But even the fear of moving to Wembley for 5-6 years or whatever it's going to be, something that, ironically, this manager's gone through, that could either go very wrong or very right. I mean, imagine us at Wembley every home game. If we don't get to grips with that stadium, which is something that we haven't been able to do in cup finals, if we can't get to grips with that stadium and make it our home, finished. Because now
The thing is, I honestly believe they're only locked into that choice. I don't think there's a possibility to move anywhere else. I think, and I don't think that's what they intended. I think on a real estate value, to have land there is so valuable to them that they, I think, just maybe when, okay, a brand new stadium here is a big money making machine, and it's true, it is. But what capacity can we possibly get to? You know, do you remember the old Roman plan that we had with the cathedral? That we could maybe bring it to not even to 60, close to 60. There was talk of like 58, 57,000 capacity. And that's just utilizing all that space to its maximum. Would we have to try and, you know, dig down as well? But we've got the underground that's there, so you've got to be careful. It's there's so many complicating factors that I don't know if they just got carried away with the fact that on a real estate value, that land there is so valuable that maybe, I don't know, did they consider some of the other points? I don't know. But the CPO have a big hold in this. And I think that might have been underestimated a bit, because clearly I don't feel like they truly understand the concepts of English football.
They don't.
No. They've come purely from a business sense that I don't think they expected the CPO, for example, to have as much authority as they actually do when it comes to the stadium planning. So,
Younes, I'll tell you furthermore as to why they did not expect all of this from you know, European football fan base, because they come from a American, you know, sports environment where fans are just entertained. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Win, lose, draw, you're entertained.
We'll go again next year.
We'll go again next year.
Good,
you know what I mean? So for them over there, you know, it's easy to make decisions, because ultimately what the message they have for the fans is, it's going to be more entertainment for you. You don't need to worry about it. It's just more entertainment for you. Whereas where they were a bit misguided with the European football is, they're forgetting the heritage. They're forgetting tradition. They're forgetting the culture. It's not just the game. It's so much more little bits and pieces that make it so beautiful. They didn't think of this. They didn't think that this was actually that valuable. This is why, you know, when the new owners, the consortium came in, they were talking about North versus South, all-star games, you know, to make it more premium content. They thought, you know, just because all of these all-star games in America, they work out so fine, it's going to have the same effects in European football. It just doesn't work that way here, mate. So these are some of the hurdles that they did not expect.
But I think all of these Glazers, Henry, all these FSG, all these guys want to do this. They would love to do what they just said, which is all-star games. But they've at some point understood, no, that doesn't work. Shut up. Stop talking.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, the hope is that these guys, the longer that they're in, the longer they're in this game, they're gonna have to learn fast that certain things that you planned and certain things that you think can work here, they're not gonna work. And some sort of accountability and reflection is what I'm hoping is happening right now, to say, okay, this is not according to plan. I said it on my last video. I was like, the only way to go in the right direction is to first admit that you've made a mistake and that you've gone wrong. If you don't do that, then you're going to keep going in the same direction. You're going to be stubborn and you're just going to keep going and keep digging for gold, and there's no gold there. Do you know what I'm saying? You're just going to keep going. Like Baba said, you're going to look for the light at the end of the tunnel. You're going to see there's a train. If these guys actually reflect and say, do you know what? We didn't actually plan for back-to-back. Let's just be honest, guys. Did we really plan for back-to-back mid-table finishes? We didn't really, did we? No, we didn't think that was going to happen, did we? So let's see why that happened, and let's make sure that doesn't happen again. And let's actually start prioritizing performance. Because if you want to make money in this game, win games. It's not hard. You can make so much money from being successful. Your brand gets bigger. We could talk about Chelsea having a big brand and they've got a massive fan base in Africa, in Asia, in America. You're only going to chip away at what has been created if you don't perform. If we're not on the TV screens on Champions League nights for 5 years running, you're not going to get new fans, because that's how some fans get into the club. That's how they find Chelsea, by watching them on TV. Not everybody is just going to be birthed around SW6 and say, all right, I'm a Chelsea fan now. There's only so many generations that can be passed down. There's many different ways to getting into following Chelsea Football Club. And being on TV regularly is one of them. And if we're shit, we're going to be on TV less. If we're not in Europe, we're going to be in TV less. If you're not playing in Europe, you're going to have less games to sell tickets for gate receipts in an already compact, small stadium. You need to be successful to make money. More money means more money. It's just the way the world works. It always has. As long as you know what you're doing with the money, the more money you make, the more money you make. Do you know what I mean? So like what? So relying upon what we've already made and saying, oh, we'll be fine. Okay, cool. But watch. It's only going to drop off. We're only going to lose what we've created because fans are going to support other clubs. Yeah. You might not want to hear it, but if Tottenham, Man City start getting them, like if Man City are going to get fans. Man City might not have a lot of fans right now. They're going to have fans. They're going to have fans.
They've built it. New generation is going to be Man City fans.
Yeah, it's going to kick off for them. Yeah,
100%.
For sure.
100%.
Like it did for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
Whoever is successful will get more fans in that current moment, and then they will reap the rewards in 10, 20 years when those people are adults. And we will be scratching around for, I mean, even now with players, right? We're relying upon Drogba. That's my inspiration. Kante, that's my inspiration. No one's going to say Mykhailo Mudryk is my inspiration.
I don't know, man. PYS might.
No one's going to say Madueke is my inspiration. Unless these players become top world-class players, no one's going to say they're my inspiration. So your pull power is going to diminish. Managers, players, fans, all pull power will diminish if you do not have some sort of success. So, because can Nottingham Forest with their 2 Champions Leagues or 2 European Cups be like, yo, Mbappe, we're 2-time Champions League winners. We're 2-time European Cup winners. Mbappe doesn't even know what a Nottingham Forest is. Do you know what I'm saying?
You probably think it's a forest.
So this is where we're at. But yeah, let me fly through super chats. We're gonna come to an end shortly, people. It's a madness, man. Thomas Frank is liked within Chelsea apparently. That was the one I choose to ignore when I saw the report because I don't even want to even get into that.
No, don't ignore. That might be the strongest favorite.
They already want the Zerbi out. He isn't even here.
That's how we roll.
I've got major concerns about it for sure. Isn't the release clause for both managers the issue? 2.5 for De Zerbi. I don't know if it's
12.5 for De Zerbi.
Yeah, it's a bit close there.
Yeah.
30 for Amorim. Best believe neither will get the sack if we get either. Pick your poison. Of course, we're gonna have to pay for sure. We always pay. We love release clause for Potter. Remember, 20 million for a manager.
More money to Brighton.
20 million. We should give Almiron a chance. I believe that says from Richie. The fans have been telling Matisse to fuck off for his advocation of Poch. However, with determination, Matisse made a comeback. Matisse is an outlier. Bro, the only thing I've said about this Poch situation is that when we appointed him, I truly believed it under these circumstances for what we've built, he was one of the best we could get, right? And if they're going to keep looking at managers to develop play, now he hasn't done very well. So whatever it is, what it is, that's my L. But if they're going to keep looking at these managers to develop, you never know, bro. It could get worse. Could get worse, bro. That's all I'm going to say. Could get worse. Remember, Company was on that shortlist as well. So was Ange. It was like Ange, Poch, and then Company was. The fact that Company was there is crazy. Nobody talk about this. Vincent Company was on Chelsea's shortlist.
You see the way Company was on that shortlist. I believe is the same way Thomas Frank is on this one. I think they purposely put someone that's so low to prop up the other names on the shortlist and to make it seem okay. Like
that makes sense.
That's what they do now. So,
Company was a bad one. Company was like, yeah, that's wild. Imagine, but this is what I'm saying. Company's stubborn. He plays his football. He doesn't give a damn. He's getting relegated.
He's getting relegated, bro.
Yeah.
Sometimes your principles can put you in trouble, man. It's mad. A question tonight, Younes and Matt. Why is it always the English brothers messing up? English directors are just as shit as English referees. Genuine question.
Not all, but I get your sentiment. There've been historically some really good English directors, and even to this day, I think there is. It's just we got the mid-table bunch.
English managers be dropping the bag.
Oh, and English managers, yeah, overall, English managers are just...
We're just not very good.
We're just not good.
Just not very good at things.
No,
We struggle. We struggle to do things. Oh dear. Sean says, for me, only Pep, Klopp, Ancelotti, Simeone are elite. I think football is going in the direction of having to find who's next to try and compete like Alonso. And even Alonso, incredible season at Leverkusen, but still risk. Because he's not been seen at a... The thing is with Zerbi as well, that I forgot to mention, like, I've not seen him at a top team. So will his because his principles are, you can see exactly the way Brighton play. Like, they build up play and they want to have the ball, and then everybody presses them. They get into their tight little box and they start pinging it in close quarters between their midfielders and centre backs, and then they escape. What happens when nobody presses you? What happens when they just say, right, low block? What now, bitch? Fuck your building.
I've seen Brighton against low blocks, bro. Their movement's very good.
The movement top, yeah.
Yeah, very, very good movement. They if they've got Danny Welbeck, they've got, João Pedro. These are okay-ish players, but they're not players that are going to put away. I've seen Brighton scuff chances massively.
But we do the same thing.
Yeah, well.
Am I gonna get prettier football and the same results? Individual errors and bad finishing.
Yeah,
probably.
Much.
More than likely, yeah.
Fuck. Question to all: what if Amorim or Zerbi struggle to take a year to stabilize because of the pressure and fans? Is it better to give time to Poch or new ones? Arsenal went through the struggle and came out of it. Does anybody get with the Arteta comparisons? Because obviously Poch has brought up Arsenal. I think he's brought up Liverpool. Time, patience. Anybody think?
They did not spend that much in the first year itself, right? So the pressure is bound to be there when you spend $1 billion in 3 transfer windows.
What Arteta comparison? Sorry, I missed that. What do you mean?
Like, he took time. It was a project. He also had some players,
he had
young players at his disposal.
7 defeats in the last 10. I saw a graphic at some point. 1 point ahead of Sheffield United, who were having a great season under Chris Wilder. 8th and then 8th. Like, is there any scope to Poch just having a bad season and just give him another season? I think now, for me, I'll answer this, right? Because Miz looks shell-shocked. he looks frightened. He looks terrified.
Yeah, the reason why I'm shell-shocked is, let me make it straight. What Arteta did with Arsenal and how long he survived, that's an anomaly.
Yes.
It's not the norm.
Arteta, it's also his first job as well.
Arteta at any other club would have got sacked 7 times. No, this is not a joke. Now you could sit there and go, "Oh, isn't that a great thing from Arsenal? They persevered." How do you know if we persevere with Poch that it's going to end up being the same thing for us? That's what I'm saying. That's an anomaly.
2 problems I have with this. Arsenal and Arteta have not won anything significant to be aspiring to become them. Why not aspire to be Manchester City with their manager and their director? Exactly. Why not aspire to be Real Madrid? Why not aspire to be winning clubs? Until Arsenal win the Champions League or Premier League, why are you aspiring to be them? Because they're still on their own. They're still processing. They're still loading. They're the GTA loading screen. The game isn't played yet. The game is not played yet. Man City are playing the game. Real Madrid are playing the game. Liverpool, they've played the game too. Arsenal not playing the game yet. They've still got to get through Porto. Wait for that before you start the comparisons, right? Now, my second problem is that if Pochettino stood on business, spoke the way that he needed to speak,
exactly,
and he was clear in, if he was clear and concise of what he wanted, and he wasn't contradicting himself and confusing himself and saying crazy stories and analogies, I'd be like, okay, cool. This guy knows what he wants. I don't know if he's going to get what he wants because the owners are moving mad, but he knows what he wants. He's not making excuses. He's taking accountability for actions as well, which is so important for managers, right? Tuchel did it the best. If you can do those things and it's not quite working out on the pitch, do you know what? I could respect it. And I'd be like, you know what? Let's give it a bit more time. But for me, it seems like as if he's a mouthpiece. It seems like as if he's ready to just relinquish responsibility. It seems like as if he's ready to make any excuse, any reasoning. He just said we were tired going into extra time for Liverpool. But we're also tired this week because we played 3 games. But we didn't play 3 games going into the Liverpool game because we had a week off. Which one is it? He said Bro is the next Harry Kane, and loan out Bro. We don't need him. We got Washington. Okay, don't worry. Oh, I forgot we had Washington. I'm so happy to have Washington. We've not used Washington once. 0 minutes since January. Which one is it? Like, if you're inconsistent in what you're saying, then I'm going to take it as you're inconsistent across the board. Because I'm just like, I'm confused. I need to know what you're doing. What is the plan? In a club with no plan, I want the manager to tell us a plan for themselves at least. What are they trying to do? If everybody's waffling, then it's a problem. If everybody can't waffle, I've already got the ownership waffling. I can't have the manager waffling. I've already got the directors waffling. I can't have the players waffling too. I got Benjamin Chilwell coming out post-match. I can't have all this waffling, bro. Somebody's got to make it clear.
Poch was genuinely, if he was 6th right now, I think a lot of us would be like, we'll just see. We'll just check what.
Oh, for
how
sure.
Things
If he was 6th now, yeah.
We'd be like, do you know what? We were 12th. Now we're 6th with all the stuff that has happened.
Yeah.
And this is why it was so crucial to win the Carabao Cup. Like, had he won the Carabao Cup resembling with what Arteta did by winning the FA Cup in his first season, there would be a case for, okay, let's stick around. Let's just see where this goes. Poch is not giving us things to stick around for. He's not really giving us anything to hold on to. So, it's going to be difficult to just keep him. Do you know what I mean?
I look at who is it in the table? Newcastle. Newcastle, I felt like a month ago were right next to us in the table. Actually, Newcastle were below us in the table a month ago, and they were like 10th, and we were 9th, or they were 11th, and we were 10th. And now Newcastle are 4 points off United and can genuinely go for 6th. And they've won 2 out of their last 5. They're not even in form. This is what pisses me off. We're not asking for too much to be in that 6th spot. We're really not. Even with the quality of the players, if it's questionable, 100%, we could be 6th. We could be in Europa League. We could be at least challenging for it. But for us to just be 11th and behind Wolves and 1 point ahead of Fulham, come on, man. We're 1 point ahead of Fulham. Do you know what their context is? They don't have Mitrovic this season. They lost Mitrovic. No one cares, though. Wolves don't have Neto, and Hee-Chan was at the Asian Cup. No one cares, though. They're ahead of us. That's what I'm talking about. Like, at some point, enough is enough. You can't just tell me that's acceptable. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Exactly. And the way that it's all heading right now, like, when does that genuinely change? Like, no. And you go back to the Arteta point. He's been at Arsenal for 5 years. It's been 5 years, right? Just to now get into this situation where there's talk of being in the title race and whatnot, and they're playing well, but 5 years with 1 FA Cup at the beginning and nothing else to show for it. That's just the reality. And it's continuing. So we'll see how far that goes. But that's not an example to take. So you ask the question, where are Chelsea heading? How long is this going to go on for? We're already 2 years approaching the second season, end of the second season into this, and we're finishing mid-table twice. Not even mid-table. Mid-table, bottom half of the table. So,
and Younes, just to add on to what you just said, it's taken them 5 years just to start competing without probably making too many drastic mistakes the way we have made so far. We have finished 12th, and we're probably going to finish 11th, 10th. Arteta has never finished these levels. They've never made these type of mistakes. They've made mistakes, not these type of mistakes. It took them 5 years from that position. How many years are going to take us to get to that level? 7 years, 8 years. And that's
'Cause
if we get things right now, like every single thing right.
Well, it would take us 5 years, in my opinion, just if we got the recruitment we did now correct. Because these players have a lot of developing to do, a lot of coaching has to be done. How quickly that can be done depends on the manager. But you know, if we're already 2 years in, because we are under this ownership, 3 more years, and we could be competing for a title, right? That's probably like as realistic as we can, and that's as generous as I can be right now. That's as generous as I can be. That's 5 years. Some people are saying, sorry, Arteta's been there for 4 years. So 4 years, 5 years, that's our, if everybody we've signed, or 80-90% of the players we sign right now are actually, you know, good enough and they can be, and then that's where we're going. Now, if we've made a lot of errors and the squad doesn't make sense and there hasn't been this Edu Arteta kind of connection between the managers, which there hasn't been, because we've already had 3 managers since this ownership's come in, with Tuchel obviously being sacked, Potter coming in, and then obviously interims, and then Poch. So there could not even be that connection in that time frame because everybody's always changing. Probably going to take a bit longer until you find the right team in terms of the manager and director, and then also the players to match that. And if you sack this manager and you bring in Amorim, who's a 3 at the back coach, he's going to tell you some of these players don't work in a 3 at the back. He's going to tell you that Madueke and Mudryk don't play as wing backs in my team, potentially. Or if you get Zerbi, he's going to tell you Petrovic and Sanchez are not the goalkeepers I need. I need a ball-playing goalkeeper. And this is the problem. When you keep flipping between managers, and this is why I really wanted Poch to work out. People think I really wanted Poch to work out because I wanted to give Toby the picture with him winning the trophy. That's also part of it, for sure. But the main reason is because the more times we keep flipping managers, the more times they're going to keep telling us that our recruitment is wrong. And then more time they're going to keep telling us this team don't make sense. I got inside forwards, but I got out and out wingers. I got wing backs. I got fullbacks. I've got Chilwell who can't defend it. I got Cucurella that can't attack. Cool. We got to make more moves then in the window. With what money? This is my problem. It's a long day. And then we have to judge that manager based on players that he didn't buy for a system that he wants to play that he can't play because he's got the wrong players. Hey, long day. Can we sell some of our players to Strasbourg to avoid FFP? What if they get relegated? Why do these owners not buy the likes of Washington at Strasbourg instead of Chelsea? Strasbourg fans are already protesting. I don't think they want to do. I don't think they want to do too much of that. Exactly. There is a reason why my club are throwing the bag at Michael Edwards to come back. Edwards signed Mane, Salah, Klopp, wanted Dortmund players, etc. 100%. Ethan, Edwards would be the most important signing for Chelsea right now. 100%. If they could bring him in, if you had to give me a choice, right, sack Pochettino and sack these directors, but Egbali make the decision on who comes in, or Edwards comes in and he says, you know what, leave everything for a year, don't touch anything, I'm just watching everybody. Cool, Edwards. No problem. I'd rather that than... I just want Egbali to be off of this role. Egbali's role as like chief and commander in terms of I'm overseeing everything and I'm hiring and firing directors. Nah, it's got to stop, mate. It's got to stop. We need someone else in that role. Because you don't get me wrong, you can go and do a deal and put your shades on and go and do some dramatic deadline day shit. But right now, I need some serious business. I need some serious. This is not Enzo Fernandez, Rui Costa. This is like 5 years of the club's structure, and this is a bit more complicated. This is a little bit more important right now. This is very, very damn. Do you know what I mean? Because if you don't get Enzo Fernandez, like I don't have a good day and I move on tomorrow. It's different. Transfer business, individual deals is very different to a whole club's philosophy, style, and structure for the next 10 years. Very important that you get someone who's probably done it before. There's a reason why my club... Sorry, we've already read that one out. Let's move on. Thank you much. Thank you, Ethan. He says, Real Madrid isn't coming for Reece James. They won't touch someone who hasn't even played 5 games in a row. Alphonso Davies is coming soon to Madrid. Left back, yeah, for sure. Real Madrid, hopefully they get Trent, man. Trent will be brilliant for Real Madrid. Love to see that. Maybe the new stadium overlooks the south coast. What, you're trying to say we should go down to Brighton, where PewDiePie lives? Some good Wi-Fi in that. Might get some good Wi-Fi at the stadium. Hey, Ahmed.
Can change the name to Belsey. In that
you don't know the CPO, man. Yeah, CPO's got you. CPO's got your name already. We could have copied Man City, but we chose Brighton.
Right.
Mad. Did you see Poch double pivot breakdown shambles from Christian? I did see it. I think
I didn't
Enzo
actually
Fernandez
watch
is gonna.
that.
I think Enzo Fernandez is gonna. He's gonna be a tide man. Sounds like he's got a lot of running ahead. It's a lot of ground to cover. Yeah. I listen. I ain't even gonna get into that because
This is why he likes Gallagher a lot, doesn't he? Like, it's just got the engine.
I don't think so. He wanted Caicedo. The way he was explaining that double pivot thing.
He did. Is this? Yeah, you're right. You know.
He definitely would not have wanted
me and Miz
Enzo
have said
Fernandez.
this. Enzo Fernandez. If Poch had his way, he would not have purchased Caicedo and
He
Enzo
wouldn't
Fernandez.
have.
No chance. We said this about this midfield don't match up with Mauricio. It doesn't actually. When you look at it, it really doesn't. He would not have bought those two.
And it's so funny, like the expressions on Karen Carney's face says it all where she's listening
She
to him.
was baff.
She was baff.
Confused.
And he himself got lost while explaining it. Okay, it is now sounding rubbish what I'm trying to say. Let me save it by moving these dots over here and there. That was funny,
That's
man.
too funny.
People are telling me PYS has put out a dagger. It's not quite a dagger though, but I'll read it out just to give you guys some dopamine because
Alright,
that's what you
go on.
really want.
Is it the Tuchel stuff?
Yeah.
Nico
If,
Williams, I think.
if the Chelsea owners were willing to swallow their pride, Thomas Tuchel would consider a return to Chelsea. Todd Bowie believes that the club was significantly better positioned with Tuchel in charge. So there seems to be a different vision from Todd Bowie, who wanted Cristiano Ronaldo, to Egbali.
Yeah.
Clearlake.
And it's ironic. Igbali and Clearlake were at the Brentford game, and Todd Bowley was at the Bahrain Grand Prix, living life. Hope he had fun.
And this is why I've told you guys, I said this on the watch along yesterday. When I go on the overlap tomorrow, I have to bring up this Todd Bowie thing because they continue to keep mentioning him in these articles and these headlines, and he's not here. he's watching Lewis Hamilton. He's not here. I get it. Wonderful mill. 3-0, we're gonna beat Madrid. He was the face. He was the guy that was saying all the great stuff. But in terms of now, he's not irrelevant, but he's clearly not the guy calling the shots. It's very obvious because we asked this question, like we were like, what's going on? How can you go from Ronaldo to Washington? How? It doesn't make any sense. Something must have happened. Because he might have wanted to make money in different ways. Ronaldo shirt sales, commercial. He's a big name. That's another way to make money. Again, no one's trying to buy Washington's shirt. You might flip him for a profit. You might not. No one's trying to buy a shirt though. Ronaldo, you're going to get a hell of a lot of shirt sales on that. You know what I mean? Better sponsorship deals, etc. So I don't know, man. There's so many ways to make money in this game. It's crazy that they just chose this way, and are so like, I don't know, so like strict on it. The directors are living out their FM fantasy. They definitely didn't play FM. I can tell you that for free. Arteta bought Cedric, Pablo Mari, Odegaard on loan, and bought Partey and Gabriel sent backs in 3 windows. You've almost spent $1 billion. Never compare us again. I agree. You spent money, but not like us. That's for sure. Took 3 years to compete, and he hasn't spent $1 billion. If Arteta had another 100 million to spend January 2023, we would have won the league. Chelsea recruitment is criminal. A lot of their signings that have been wrong have been cheap. William was a free. Pablo Mari wasn't expensive.
Exactly.
Yeah, like they haven't gone big and gone bust. Kai Havertz was the first attempt. I'm hoping. But most of the L's have been low-cost L's, from what I can remember.
They bought Odegaard on loan, and when he worked out, then they signed him on a permanent transfer.
Yeah. Oh, this makes me ill. Oh, God.
Oh, hell no.
Before we wrap up, is anybody doing revisionism on this or wanting him to stay? Because people just say, oh, but he gets goals.
No.
We knew that when we signed him. That's not the problem, is it? I can't. In a team, let me tell you this, right? In a team that lacks leadership, I can't think of anything worse than having this guy as the leader in the team. Oh my days.
Yep.
This guy leading these young players, you may as well just scrap off the whole project, because if he gets himself sunk into these players, oh, it's over. It's over. Mudryk will be speaking American very soon. It will be a long day. Long day. Long day. No, long day. Long day. This is not the leadership I'm looking for. Is there another tweet before we wrap up? But people are just going crazy right now.
I've just seen Nico Williams. Matt Law said that Chelsea are lining up a bid. I think he's got a £43 million release clause. That's what Matt Law said.
Yeah, he's got a release clause. Sesko at Leipzig's got a release clause as well.
Yeah, and Chelsea have. Again, this is dumb, but it says Chelsea have started to plan targets. Like, come on, with Osimhen and Sesko among the leading candidates. We've known this for flipping months. But anyway, that's that. And then Chelsea are eyeing a summer move for Nico Williams for a release clause of £43 million. To bear into mind, Nico Williams is someone that has that caught the attention of Joe Shields. So that's something to pay attention to. Because right now, if I'm going to be, let's be honest, right? The one guy at this football club that looks like he's doing a decent job is Joe Shields. But it's no surprise. Look where he came from.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, that's the latest in terms of Nico Williams.
Okay. Man.
I don't really know if Matt Law knows too much these days about Chelsea, to be honest. I don't think some of the stuff that comes from Matt Law these days, I'm not really sure anymore, to be honest.
He's not, it seems like he's not on the same page of the club like he once was.
That's what I mean, Younes. That's what I mean. Yeah.
And now he's happy to start saying things that he wouldn't have said before.
Yeah.
I think Nazar Cancela seems to be more plugged in this season than him.
Yeah.
A little bit more.
Which is crazy because before he was like,
he was not plugged in.
And Matt Law was like the guy.
Yeah.
Just depends on who's on your phone book, guys.
The ultimate guy that is the most plugged in is Fabrizio Romano. I bet you my bottom dollars 100%. Fabrizio is connected with many people internally at Chelsea.
The bad thing about, I have to say this because it came out recently, is how Fabrizio is under influence to put out certain things at certain times by certain people because of how much influence he actually has. And he's happy to do that in terms for a certain fee or certain perk or something. And we know this, that's the case. He's become so big that that's what's going on. So
100%.
Yeah.
If he's charging people to go on YouTube channels for collabs, you think he's not charging agents for news and okay, you want me to... Why do you think Fabrizio will tweet about a certain player who's going to make a move every time he scores?
Yeah.
Every time the player scores, it's free marketing. Because no one really knew he scored because we weren't watching the Austrian league for Salzburg. But now that he's under Fabrizio's, kind of umbrella, and he's gonna get a move. Okay, if he's banging in goals, let's do this. You know what I mean? Let's talk because again, it's marketing, and it's also if I build this player up via my own social and potentially get paid for it, then when he does make the move, people are gonna know about him, and that's gonna be a bigger story. Whereas if I just
all the parties involved.
Exactly, it's a win-win for everybody. If I just announce the transfer for this random kid that I haven't been able to prop up and do propaganda for, people will be like, who's this? If I build it up over time and be like, here's his stats, 17 goals in 18 games, his name is this, looking at a move potentially in the summer, keep doing it 5, 6, 7 times over the season, then when now there's people like, oh, who's this guy? They watch some comps. I want him too. Now everybody's like, yo, Fabrizio, news on this guy, to my club. Then when it gets done, bang, bigger deal, we get more engagement. So it makes sense.
Fabrizio Romano is a brand now, bro. He ain't no person anymore. He's a brand now.
He's not been a person since the Guardian days.
People, you're right, Matisse. He's making money. He's in cahoots with the agents.
When you think about it, he runs the transfer market now, man.
He runs it.
He is the transfer market.
Influence is mad. So
we need to talk to him about doing some Kepa propaganda.
Kepa's agent's got to reach out to him.
Do you know how much that's going to cost? Have you got that?
Kepa propaganda from Fabrizio is needed. Make some comp about his saves in training or something because he's not playing, and let's get to work, man. Let's get to work. All right, a couple more super chats before we wrap up. Why does everyone use Arteta's barometer of patience? Didn't take Klopp 4 years to win something significant at Liverpool, despite his CV as a coach. Arsenal is Arteta's a novice. What he is very unique. He is very unique, I guess. You're trying to say it's obviously his first job as well. So credit to him. To be fair, he has got past that sack phase, and now he's actually seeing the other side of it. But it's not Pochettino's first job, so I had higher expectations of him than I would have had of Arteta in his first job. I think that's also important to say. If a manager's been around for 10, 15 years, managed at Southampton, Tottenham, PSG, if I rate them, which I do, and I did, then I'm not going to expect you to perform to the same level as Arteta. That's the other side that people need to bring up. When we talk about Arteta's first job was at Arsenal. Arteta should have been making mistakes, probably more so, because he hasn't managed a group of players. He hasn't, dealt with them, Aubameyangs and Lacazettes, as the lead head honcho, like a Pep. He's been second in command. So he's never going to have to be that guy with the final say. These managers that we're appointing have been around the block. So I'm not expecting you to perform to Arteta's level to see Arteta's rise. You've been here. You're around. You know what I'm saying? You're not comfortable in your own ends. You're a manager. You've been a manager. So I don't think that really makes sense to me, because if you rate the person, they should be performing to the level, right, that you would have hoped for. If not, then clearly they're not the. If we had Ian Holloway in charge, then I wouldn't be surprised if we were shit, because I don't rate him. Do you know what I mean? It's just simple as that. I think if you rate someone, it's probably more your responsibility to actually expect something from them. If there's still Pochettino in people, but they really rate him, or maybe they didn't want him and now they're just giving him time, that's different. But if you rate Pochettino like I do, then you should expect something from him, because otherwise, why do you rate him? Do you understand? That's the way I'm looking at it. Like if Younes gets Mourinho, he's not expecting Mourinho to finish 9th. He's not going to say that's good enough because, I wanted this manager, so Mourinho's finished 9th now. Let's just give him another season. He's going to be like, what the hell's going on? I expected better from you. Yeah. Because I wanted you. I rate you. That's the way I look at this. The manager's underperforming to the level I thought he would have us at, because I rate him. That's how I see this. Last super chat from Ash. He says, Chelsea RIP used to be a big club, but brace yourselves for a further downfall. Brother, listen, just make sure you get past Porter in the Champions League. Otherwise, I'm going to be having you in the chat, and it's going to be a long day, mate.
That's going to be a very interesting game, by the way.
Yeah, it's going to be a long day. It's going to be a long day. Fabrizio's out here retweeting people. I don't know what's going on that platform, but it needs to stop. All right.
Wow.
What's going on that platform, bruv? Seriously, what's going on over there today? Chelsea have been, because it's an old tweet. Yeah, it's an old tweet, and it's something that he said ages ago. Now it's being recirculated. That
he's just trying.
He's just saying, Matt Law, shut your mouth.
Matt Law, you were not here first. I was here first.
Yeah. He's just saying, Matt Law, shush.
Yep.
Oh dear. All right, cool. Let's go from there. Miz, let the people know where to find you, bro. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Once again, really, really good episode. Just like every other time, man. It's been good therapy. The other side of the coin, I dropped a video an hour and a bit before this show, so do check that out, where I talk about how Baghdad Iqbali said a lot of the things from the get-go, which we are now starting to realize. So if you want to give that a watch. It's interesting when these news floated around when it first came out. It all went over our heads as fans, because we were just so caught up in the euphoria of new owners and new beginnings and this, that, the other. But almost 2 years down the track, reading back some of these tweets, some of these classic threads from Ben Jacobs, like 10-layer threads, and it's an eye-opener that, my God, these owners have always told us what they're going to do, what they wanted to do, and they're doing exactly what they're doing now. It's just we are waking up to it now. So give that video a watch if you wanna see what happened previously.
Yeah. All right, brother. Younes, I know that there could be a double upload today because it's looking like a long day. So let the people know where to find you.
Could potentially. I'll see. So yeah, Younes Talks Football is where you'll find everything, all my thoughts, and like I said, it's the Chelsea content will be uninterrupted, but I will be adding more now because we can't go on like this. So so basically, there will be more content, and looking forward to the game on Monday as well. Chelsea Newcastle, preview to that on Sunday. So that's where you can catch me.
There you are. And Baba, let the people know where to find you, bro. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, man. Same as always. Drogbaba will be doing a lot of Champions League stuff as well. A team is not in the Champions League does not mean that we can't do Champions League watch-alongs and talk about Champions League, because every time I talk about Champions League, everyone's like, what are you doing here? Chelsea are not part of the Champions League. So yeah, we'll be doing a watch-along tonight as well. And yeah, don't follow me on Twitter because it's not going down. Nothing is going down on there right now. But yeah, we'll see how we fare against Newcastle. And yeah, let's see how this season finishes.
There you are. Guys, make sure you smash up the likes. Make sure you subscribe. We'll see you again next week on this show after we play Newcastle, I guess, on Monday. And then it's FA Cup, is it, I believe, against Leicester?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And then the international break comes up, and Arsenal and all these other fixtures, and Man City and whatnot after that. So not Man City, actually. I think that's over now, thankfully. So yeah, season's end is upon us. Yeah, so we're nearly there, people. Just hang in there, because it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Until next time, big up your damn selves in a bit, people. Peace.